Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Caris May, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Lieutenant Cecilia Berryman. We welcome veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony from around Australia. During the ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors. To commence this evening's service, I invite you all stand and join in singing the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was a vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed to the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and operations for over more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest, wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Roy Alexander McMillan. Roy McMillan was born in 1893 in Eugowra, New South Wales, to Archie and Mary McMillan. His father came from a large family that ran a well-known property, Rosebank, not far from Eugowra. Like most of his extended family, Roy became a farmer after attending the local public school. Roy McMillan enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force shortly after the outbreak of war in 1914. He was posted to A Company of the 3rd Battalion, and after a period of training in Australia, left for active service overseas with the 1st Contingent. He trained in Egypt for several weeks before leaving for Gallipoli. The 3rd Battalion began landing on Gallipoli Peninsula at 5:30 a.m., a short time after the covering party. The men came ashore under heavy Turkish fire, the last of them arriving at 8:30 in the morning. From the beach, they advanced to the heights, capturing some Turkish positions and defending their hard-won gains through the night. Little is known of Private McMillan's experiences in those hectic first days of Gallipoli. He wrote a postcard to his father, Archie, in Australia on the 19th of May. In a few short sentences, on an ordinary, rough piece of cardboard, brown on one side and white on the other, and apparently broken off a cardboard box, he said, "I am well, and so is Roy Douglas, another Eugowra boy. The work here is warm and tiring, but our boys are doing it cheerfully." Thinking writing paper must be scarce on Gallipoli, Archie McMillan was careful to include a blank sheet of paper and an envelope in every subsequent letter he sent, and encouraged others to do the same. Archie McMillan never received a letter on the spare paper he sent to his son. In June, he received word that Roy had been wounded. By September, Archie McMillan had still received no further news and did not know if Roy had recovered or not. His inquiries led to Private McMillan being posted as wounded and missing for another several months, while inquiries were made as to his fate. On the 5th of June 1916, a year after the McMillan family had been informed Roy was missing, a court of inquiry determined that he had been killed in action on the 21st of May 1915, 2 days after writing his rough postcard to his father. He had been in the front line and reportedly had just climbed over the parapet to relieve men in a forward observation post when he fell back into the trench, shot through the head. He died a short time later. Roy McMillan was 21 years old. Today, his body lies buried in Beach Cemetery at Anzac. He is commemorated on a headstone in the Eugowra Cemetery, together with his 2 uncles, Bob and Viv McMillan, who were killed in action in France. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, among almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Roy Alexander McMillan, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Could you all please stand for the ode and last post?
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes this evening's last post ceremony. We would like to thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today, and we wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.